Hi there friends, it's your favorite neighborhood nerd Simone, and I'm here today with my currently inked report for October. And yes, in last week's video I said that these pens would hold me over all the way to December, and I firmly believed that. And then after I filmed that video, I was able to use these pens more than I had anticipated, and I noticed that some of them were very low on ink. And here is the biggest thing, because I could have just refilled any of those. Here's the biggest thing. The thought of taking these from today, which is November 9th, 2025, all the way to the middle of December, when I would start on the 14th to ink one pen during the course of 12 days, filled me with a little bit of dread. I have used these enough to have a good opinion on them. I'm ready for something new. And so I decided that I wouldn't care about the things that I say online and just do whatever I feel like right now. And that is talk about these, tell you how they went. I will be moving these two forward. So these were relatively freshly inked in right at the end of October. I have a video on these two Benu Hots, and I really love both the writing experience and the inks in them. There's a lot ink still in there, and they work with my color palette for November, which you will see really soon what I'm doing there. It's something new that I was really excited about for a while. And I just didn't want to wait until the beginning of the year to put that into action. So these two I will not report on today. They will just move over to November-ish. And I hope to share a currently inked for November that includes the report, so both in one video. Basically towards the end of November or the beginning of December. I'm not even sure yet. And then I feel confident that I will make it all the way to December 14th when I start inking up the pens. I don't know yet which ones those will be for December, with the inks that I'm opening in my Ink Mass swap package. So I don't even know how many, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 pens to review. They are sorted by the way that they are in my book. I'm just going quickly letting you know that this is the Pilot Vanishing Point Deep Yellow with an 18 karat medium nib. I have a Pelikan M800 blue stripe with a medium 18 karat gold nib. I'm showing you this finial back here because this is quite an older model. This is the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande in primary manipulation light, also with a medium nib, but this is a number 8 titanium nib. Then I have the Benu Euphoria in Jazz with a fine steel nib. This is a Schmidt nib. Then another Pelikan M800 in cream blue. This came out, I think, towards the middle of 2024. I got this in the beginning of 2025. It has a fine 18 karat gold nib. Then this is a Mayfair pens in Goldberry with a pens by the neon part is a pens by Pasquale blank, and this has a Frankenstein nib on here. This is fitted for Jowo number 6 housings and nibs. and I took a flexible nib factory housing for Sailor Pro Gear nibs and put this on here. This is a, I think it was a music nib that was ground into a scythe nib by Kirk Spear. And then this is a Waterman Karen in, this is a 21 karat gold nib. This is a Waterman Karen in royal blue with an 18 karat fine nib. This is a White Bear Pens Ursa Minor. This is the Pride from their Pride pen release in 2025. And again, this is a section that is fitted with a Jowo number 6 nib unit, and I Frankensteined it to fit a Pilot Custom 74 nib on here. So this has a medium 14 karat gold nib. And then this is another Mayfair pens. These two are brothers and sister. This is a Noldor model with a medium Franklin Christoph Sig nib. This is the Hogtowns Swansea XL in Blue Nebula, and this is fitted with a Schon Design Monarch nib in fine. It writes with a reverse architect. And the last pen is a Papa J Studios pen with a steel nib. It's a fine Bock nib. So let's pull out the book and talk about my experience with this, because it's interesting. Let me tell you this much. The first time I wrote with this, I wrote with it in my A6. This is not it. I don't really know where that is. My A6 Hone. I used this as a long form writing journal, and I did not feel comfortable at all with this pen. And especially when I got to the edge of the page or the bottom of the page, when my hand basically fell over, then this pen became extremely uncomfortable. I have struggled with this in the past, but then I used it on just a random piece of paper when I was writing a letter, and there was no, step down, and it was so comfortable. At the point when I was journaling with it, I was convinced that I would be selling this pen, because I don't feel like I should keep pens that aren't comfortable. And then it completely redeemed itself, and it felt so good to journal with it and write with it in a different setting that I changed my mind 100%, 80%, and turned around, and I still struggle with it, but it feels really good. This was a roller coaster. It went from selling it right now to amazing. Based on the notebook size. Because it's not extremely universal and the experience was so different, I don't think I want to give this an A. I think I'm going to give this a B+. The ink was really lovely. I like the brown. I do have a small sample size. I think it's 15 milliliters or maybe 12 from Enderolium, and I'm definitely going to keep this. But yeah, B+ is, I think, the greatest, the best I can give this pen right now. the Pelikan M800 was an interesting experience. I had a different ink in here in the beginning, and then I looked for a wet ink just to see if, again, these are all pens that didn't work out in the first try, and then they worked out in the second try, and I'm really happy to report that with a wet ink, this medium nib wrote extremely lovely. I loved the writing experience. And especially how I can still see shading. Oh, experience twice, okay. It's shading in wet inks. If I put writer's blood into a nib that isn't as nuanced as this one, I am having an almost black experience with it. Now this, as you can see, is a little different as this, and that is because of, obviously, there was some evaporation. These pens have been inked for almost 1.5 months now and not been used as much as I would have liked. And so this is natural. And this, even though I had a similar, like it was bad at first and then it was great, it was inked with Sailor 50 States Nevada first, and that didn't work out at all. I am going to give this an A because it's wet, still shady, slim shady, and smooth, but with a little bit of feedback. I really love Pelikan M800 nibs, and yeah, so every time I use this, I love it. Now the thing is, with a medium nib, same with this one, I am struggling with the tiny grids in these planners. These 4 millimeters or 3.8 millimeter grids are prohibitive when writing with broader nibs, and that is one of the reasons why I decided to actually change my writing journal instead of change the pens that I ink. Even though I'm not usually regarding these grids, it just makes my handwriting feel sloppy. I have to pay more attention than I want to make the lines go straight, and so I just don't want to omit all of that. Because every time I would journal in a journal with this size, grid size, I wouldn't have a good experience writing with the pen. But it's not the pen's fault, it's the paper's fault. And so I decided my approach would not be to ditch the pen or take rating off the pen, because it's not the pen's fault, it's the paper's fault. Then this Leonardo Memento Zero Grande in Primary Manipulation Light is, I really think this is still one of my favorite pens. It just, the nib feels so, I'm not really sure how to say it. It's not a smooth, there's no feedback. It feels smooth. There is it's wet. The ink flows really well, but there's still some feedback to the writing experience that I just extremely enjoy. Feels so well attuned to my preferences. Wet ink flow. With feedback. And the ink, man, I mean, this is so bright, so orange, but also not hurting in the eye. I am giving this an A+. Yeah. I think what I dislike is when I do not experience the contact between the nib and the paper, and this I experience it still. However, the ink flow is wet. Sometimes with some nibs, you have a lot of ink flow, and then the nib glides uncontrollably over the paper. And that's what I don't like. It feels like skating, like I'm slipping on ice with my shoes and they're like going everywhere and I have no control over it. This feels really good. Now, this pen I inked because the ink that I had in the Pelikan M800 Blue Stripe, as I showed you earlier, did not work out. And it was one of those, so either I find a pen that this ink works in or I need to get rid of it. But I actually really love it for two reasons. For the name, it's Sailor 50 States Nevada. And for the color, I think this color represents the landscape of Nevada beautifully. And I love the landscape, so I love the ink color. And I thought, what if I take out a Schmidt nib, which I know usually puts down a lot of ink, and then maybe not a broader nib, but more of a finer nib. And I tried it in here and it worked amazingly well. This, look how well it writes. Let me see if I can find the writing example here. No, that was not a Pro Gear. That was the Pelikan M800. Oh, maybe I had it in, well, that was completely wrong. Totally different pen. Shoot, I forgot. I put this in my Nagasawa Gearske with a broad nib. This is how this ink felt and wrote here, and I knew exactly that I didn't enjoy this. Look at the difference in how this looks washed out. This looks awesome, precise, fine. This was an amazing pen and ink pairing. I always love Schmidt steel nibs. There's the German in me. Schmidt steel nibs. And this is no exception. And this is, I think I'm giving this an A. Obviously it was great, but it wasn't greater than this one. Now this was definitely greater. I think A is this is great. I enjoyed it. And then everything else is going to be more nuanced. This is the Pelikan M800 in cream blue with a fine 18 karat gold nib. I had inked this with Diamine Safari. And it is a great pen and ink pairing. However, I had my Pelikan M800 in green demonstrator with a fine 18 karat gold nib inked with Diamine Safari in the previous iteration. And so I am so over this. I shouldn't even talk about it. It has run its course. It was great while it lasted, but now it's time to change. And that's the reason, one of the reasons why I'm like, I can't keep using these pens until December. This is not working for me. This was a great combo. However, I need more variation. So I did this for science. Oh, look at the evaporation. Oh, look how dark it is compared to this. If you've been following my videos for a long time, you might be surprised that I'm so chill about this. if I really wanted this to be the same color, I would need to use my pens more, which I currently am not able to. And so I just have to be okay with the darkening of the ink. I did this for science, the inking of this pen, and I had them inked at the same time for a little bit because I needed to make sure that this nib was performing the same way as the other nib. So it's not a fault of this pen, but I think I'm not going to give it a C, but I'm definitely giving it a B minus. This was just too long of an experience of the same writing experience and color. Now, this Mayfair pens in Goldberry with a Pro Gear Scythe nib was inked with Sailor 2024 Pen Show exclusive. And this is a hard one to rate because, again, it's a big nib on small grid, and that is always feels like a disaster. Not that I'm not able to write on it, but I don't enjoy how my handwriting looks when I'm trying to cram a big nib onto small lines. So this was another one of those that made me think that, no, I really like these pens. I need to change something up about the paper and the grid size. This is amazing. Wow. Okay. So that's here. You can see it's definitely, that's what happens when you use your pens and you let them sit and evaporate. Let me just dip this really quickly into some water to make it work for this last bit. And I also decided to just use it and play with these pens and inks. But this is going to be quite light. This is amazing on the right paper. I love my handwriting with it. Or penmanship is probably the right expression here with it. And that color is perfection. I have to say that these Mayfair pens, in the beginning, I fell in love with these. I noticed I liked the grip, but then I choked up on it and I hurt my fingers. I was gripping it too tight and it wasn't comfortable. Then Ben from Mayfair Pens rounded out the edges on all of the pens that I purchased from him. And it was I had to learn how to hold these with less force. And now they're really comfortable for me. So I had really hard time getting used to these pens, but I feel like I've come around, didn't give up. I'm loving it. So this is an A. Yeah. It's not this territory, but I think it's in the leagues of these ones. I'm curious to see how I'm going to rate these or rank these when I'm making a ranking later. And we have to keep on going. This Waterman Coren in fine with an 18 karat gold nib, I have had trouble previously. So my most experiences I've had with this nib was that I felt the ink flow was too dry, and which led me to holding it tighter, pressing harder, and not having a good experience with it. And then I had purchased Lamy Petrol in the 2025 release. which was such a wet ink that I didn't know what pens I would put this in. And then I had the idea that what if I combined this pen with that really wet ink? And it was what I had hoped for. This pen needs extremely wet inks to shine. I have found I love the weight of this pen in my hand. It's great. Yeah. And this is one of those that I didn't have any issues writing on the grids in the small notebooks. So yeah, it's definitely getting an A for sure. And then we come to this one, which is kind of a problem child, but also not. I just had to accept that the ink that came out of this pen didn't look like the ink that is in the ink bottle. For some reason, there must have been some residue of the red that had been in here before, and so it changed the ink color. But yeah, I am and will be forever a fan of the Custom 74 gold nib. What? Glad gold nib. Having it in a pen, comfortable pen is icing on the cake. I love this pen. I am planning, but not in the near future. I am planning to purchase another one of these once, if I ever get lucky in a White Bear Pens drop again. I'm dreaming of a holographic cap because this pen is just, I can't even. I love the brain that went into developing this specific format. It's a pocket pen that feels amazing in my hand. It posts super easily. There's no wobbliness to the capping mechanism. It doesn't fall off. It feels secure. The grip section is obviously fitted for number 6 Jowo nibs, so it's wider than the Custom 74 grip section. It feels so good. And then being able to have this Custom 74 nib on here is, I don't know what to say about this, because I had actually skipped over my Custom 74 nib most of 2024 because it felt too narrow and I felt like I was choking up. I didn't feel comfortable using it. And now being able to use this in this pen is just great. So even though there is discoloration in the back here, and I feel like maybe that's the reason why the ink color isn't Colorverse San Francisco Bay, but some sort of mix, I am still giving this an A+, because, man, I love it. And the last time I had it inked, I uninked it, and either I inked it right in the next rotation or the rotation after, because I missed having it inked and being able to write with it. Now, this is the Noldor from Mayfair. And if you recall, and if you don't, then let me tell you, I have struggled with stubby nibs italicized nibs in the past. I actually even sold my journaler nib from Custom Nib Studio because it just didn't feel right. I have no regrets about that, but I do have a SIG nib which is similar to the journaler in fine, extra fine, and no, not fine, in medium, extra fine, and broad. And I was always curious if I would come around to enjoying these nibs or not. And for some reason, the way that I'm holding this pen makes this nib extremely enjoyable, to the point that I am actually looking into buying more of these nibs so that I can put them on other custom maker pens. So I originally had the extra fine SIG nib on here, and that didn't work out. But once I had changed it to the medium nib, man, this writing experience I cannot write, obviously, was perfection. I want more of these nibs. Well, I would like to know if would enjoy a fine SIG nib. And the ink color was extremely refreshing. I have a little, it's like sometimes Konpeki is almost too bold for me, but this time around it worked really well. So I am giving this an A+ as well. Here is another problem child, but not one that will get an A+. I have put this, oh, you can see, and I have no idea why this is happening. This pen is spouting out ink yet again, and this is a different nib that's on here. It's not, I changed the last ink rotation. I had this inked. I had the same thing happen, and I have no idea exactly why it happens. So I am not necessarily giving up on this. I will ink this another time, maybe in December, to try it out with yet another nib to see if this is still happening. Because yet again, I'm not sure if these inks and this nib make the ink just spout out, or if there's something else wrong with the pen. I just, 2 days ago, I cleaned out the cap, I wiped down the nib, and you can see the amount of ink. You can't really, but there is ink in the cap. Here you go. And I'm not sure why that is happening and what makes it happen. The writing experience, let's move away from the issue that I'm having with the ink spouting into the cap. I was extremely afraid of using this nib. Yeah. Why? I have no idea. Yes, I do have an idea. The last time I used this, I actually had it inked with Konpeki. It felt really dry. And I had actually wondered if I was going to regret my purchase decision. And so I used all of the other pens, and I kept holding back on writing with this because I was afraid of disappointment. And when I used it, it felt just so amazing. I was afraid of using this. In fear of disappointment. Afraid. It doesn't matter. How would you phrase that correctly then? Disappointment. But the nib is wet, glides over paper nicely, glides over paper, has feedback nicely, which is something that I seem to love. And even reverse is super smooth, which I have found I prefer in my architecty nibs. So the nib is great. The feel of the pen in my hand is great. The only thing that isn't great is the fact that I have no idea why I always have ink in the cap. So I am giving this a C+, because I feel like if the pen body isn't performing well, I shouldn't have to worry about this all the time. So this is getting cleaned out right away when I'm done with this filming. Now, the only pen that I'm rating on this other side right over here, and I had to clip all of this together in order to make sure that I wouldn't show you stuff that I don't want to show you yet. Mainly the Inkvent calendar is this. This is Papa J Studio. I call it Hippie Flower Girl. Hippie Girl Flower. I don't know. Hippie Flower Girl. This pen is a work of art, in my opinion. I really like pens where there is more to it than, and I'm saying just in not a negative way, but let's pull out this pen. This is a beautiful work of craftsmanship, but there's not a lot of, you don't need to be an artist in order to make this. You choose an amazing resin rod by a blank maker, and then you get to work and produce an amazing piece of craftsmanship. And that is perfect. However, what I find almost more interesting than this, let me put this right there, because oh my goodness, what the heck is happening? No, I need a rag and I need to clean this. Oh, I'm just not going to take this out again and open it up. What I find almost more inspiring and more admirable, and that is, it's just a different category of pen maker, is those pen makers that combine different resins together to create a piece of art. Like choosing what works well with each other and combining those. I love having pens that create tension, and this is no different. This is to combine this resin with this resin with this finial. This is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the way that Papa J Studios does their creative process, is that maybe this is teamwork, husband and wife, and then the finials are made by the wife, and the craftsmanship, the work of actually making the rest of the pen is done by the husband. So I love this. And this is my very first steel Bock nib. And man, it just confirmed that maybe I need to move on from plain old Yovo nibs. I have been going on about this forever because I just can't believe that I might not like those nibs. And I am on a mission to find out and confirm or make sure, like either I'm debunking my own myth or I'm confirming it, and then I can move on instead of rotating this in my head all the time. I really love, I feared that this grip section might be too narrow. That's why I never really considered a Papa J Studio pen before. And then I saw this and I changed my mind in an instant. And I'm so glad I did, because this pen is a piece of art. Extremely comfortable. Yeah, I didn't think it would be. The nib is amazing. Maybe you could say that I like nibs with character. The ink flows, and what else could I say? Perfect. This I am giving an A+, and that's that for now. You can see that there is some ink maybe staining. I'm not sure. It might just be, there is always a little bit of ink on nibs. It can't be prevented. And obviously this is Pilot Iroshizuku Tsutsuji. So it might be stained. I don't know. Even though I consider this a work of art, it's still an item that I am using. And so if this is stained, I am just going to live with it and be fine. Because, I mean, what better thing in the world is an item that I consider amazing craftsmanship and a work of art and a usable item. Like, it can't get better in my world. Oh my goodness. Plus, of course. So let's rank these, and then I'll let you go, and I'm going to clean these out. So maybe we'll start with the back and move to the front, because it's really tough, because I gave such, so this unfortunately is in last place. Then I guess if we're going with grades, then I would get the Pelikan M800 with the Diamine Safari, which is fair. I'm totally okay with putting that in last place, because in this rotation, I just had enough of this ink color and this writing experience. B+, yes. I struggled with this and I almost sold it. So obviously it goes here. Then let's deal with the A's, which we have this one, this one, this one, and this one. So I think of these four, my favorite writing experience with this, so this would go here. If I'm looking at choosing, I didn't choose this a lot, but now that I wrote with it again, I'm like, why didn't I? So I feel regrets for not having chosen this as much as I did. And I think actually that it should go here and then this here, and then this here. And the reason why this goes last is because it was one of those pens that I struggled with in the journal. I since have changed it, but if I hadn't struggled, I probably wouldn't have changed my journal. And that made me feel bad about this pen for a tiny bit until I realized what was the issue, what actually was the issue. Let's place these, which is really hard because they all deserved the A+. I think this needs to be 4th place because of the discoloration issue. I want to put this in here because every time I needed to use a fountain pen, I would pull out this one. Then this one for the amazing surprise on how great this sig nib felt, and then this one just because. So here we go. I've sorted them in ranking order, and I feel really good about this choice. Best experiences were had right here. Good experiences were had right here. Not so good issues, over inking were had right here. I was able to solve the issue for this one. That's why this is in 3rd to last place. I know about the reason why this is all the way in the back, and I still need to work with this pen body and like pen housing. It's not the nib, but there's something off with the pen, which I'm giving it one more try with a regular Jowo nib where I know that it works. I'm gonna ink it with a not too wet, not too dry ink so that I know for sure that it's not the wet ink that is spilling out of the pen. But if I can't resolve that with this these issues with that test run next time, I will definitely reach out to the pen maker. All right, 47 minutes and I am done. I'm so happy that you joined me today for this currently inked report. I hope to see you again next time. I can't wait to show you the pens I have chosen, the inks specifically, and pens I have chosen for the month of November. And as you can see I'm just going through this in one go, this is what I love talking about. I could talk endlessly about fountain pens, inks, nibs, and all the things. And I hope you enjoyed listening to me and felt that joy that I'm experiencing. I hope you feel the same about something in your life. And yeah, spend a lot of time with that something. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again in another video. Until next time, bye.